In this lesson, we'll cover backdoors and logic bombs. Now, a backdoor is originally placed into computer programs to bypass the normal security and authentication functions of those systems. Now, if this sounds like a horrible idea to you, you're right, because it really is a horrible security practice. So, why were backdoors created in some of our applications and programs? Well, it's actually something that goes all the way back to the 1980s because manufacturers and programmers were adding in these backdoors as a way to get back into their system to do maintenance and repairs without having to go through all the authentications or going through the firewalls and all the layers of security that they normally would if they went through the public-facing portions of that application. Now, back in the 1980s and 1990s, and even into the early 2000s, backdoors were a commonplace thing that was put into our applications by programmers. But in modern networks, we consider this to be a breach of secure coding best practices, even though you'll still find some programmers who add backdoors into their code. So these days, most software will not have a backdoor because they've been patched up because we know how bad these things are for security. But there is still some things out there that act like backdoors. Do you know what those might be? Well, it's a remote access Trojan. Now, a remote access Trojan can be placed by a threat actor onto your computer to help them maintain persistent access to your system. So, if an attacker is able to trick one of your users into clicking on a spear phishing link in an email, they may be able to install some kind of malware based on clicking that link. And now they have something that can create a callback connection to their system. This callback to the remote system will then allow the attacker to connect to your system while bypassing the system's default security posture. And this allows a remote access Trojan to basically act like a backdoor in order to allow the attacker to gain access to your system anytime they want. Next, we need to talk about something known as an Easter egg. Now, Easter eggs are another insecure coding practice that was used by programmers to provide a joke or gag gift to their users. Essentially, there would be different things that would happen in different video games or different pieces of software when certain pieces of code were executed. For example, several years ago, Google added an Easter egg into their search application, and you can actually still access it today. If you want to try it out, simply head over to google.com right now and type in "do a barrel roll" into the search bar and then press enter. Then you'll see the whole web page do a 360-degree rotation as if it was doing a barrel roll inside of an airplane. Now, this code has no real function except to act as a joke or a gag or a hidden secret inside of the search application. And that is why this is considered to be an Easter egg, because the Google programmers decided to put this silly feature into the code for the company's most widely used product, the Google search bar. Now, in general, you're going to find Easter eggs are pretty harmless, but they do add additional code into the applications, which could create some additional vulnerabilities that a threat actor could exploit. Now, over the years, I have worked as a penetration tester, and I have found that Easter eggs generally have more vulnerabilities associated with them than the rest of the application. And the reason for this is that this type of code that creates the Easter egg is usually meant as a joke, and it's added right before a product is going to be released. And this means it doesn't always go through the same rigorous forms of security testing that the rest of the application did. Now, you may be wondering, why am I talking about Easter eggs inside of this video? Well, it's because Easter eggs are closely linked to logic bombs. Now, logic bombs is the next thing we're going to talk about. And as I said, they're very similar to Easter eggs, and many consider them to be an evolution of earlier Easter eggs, but they have a more malicious intent. Logic bombs are a type of malicious code that's inserted into a program, and that malicious code will only execute when certain conditions have been met. For example, a disgruntled employee may insert a logic bomb into the server's code so that the program will query the company's Active Directory server every single day at midnight. If that disgruntled employee's account was terminated because they got fired, then that malicious code will perform some kind of bad action like deleting all the files on the server or transferring money from the corporate bank account over to the employee's personal bank account anytime they find that this account was deleted by the system when they do their midnight checks. Now, one of my favorite examples of a logic bomb actually comes from the classic 1993 movie, Jurassic Park. In the movie, the park's programmer, Dennis Nerdy, decides he's going to put a logic bomb into the computer system that's operating the power grid that is going to keep all the dinosaurs inside their electrified enclosures. His logic bomb is designed to shut down the power for a few minutes so he can run in, steal some dinosaur embryos, and then sell them to get rich. Now, everything begins to go according to his plan. At the designated time, the power is cut off to the enclosures, and Dennis is able to sneak out of the room, go past all the alarms because there's no power to them anymore, and get into the nursery to steal some of those dinosaur embryos. He thinks he's going to get off and sell those embryos and become a millionaire. Of course, it all goes bad for him, and the dinosaurs are running rampant in the park because he turned off the electrical grid, and he ends up getting killed by one of those dinosaurs. Now, that's not really the point here, but instead, I want to provide you with a classic example of a logic bomb because he set up some malicious code to create an action at a certain time, and he had this malicious intent when he did it. So remember, A backdoor is a covert method of bypassing normal authentication or security controls in a system that's often introduced by the system's original designers or programmers. An Easter egg is going to be a hidden feature or novelty within a program that's typically inserted by the software developers as an inside joke. And a logic bomb is a type of malicious code that's inserted into a piece of software that will then execute a harmful action when specific conditions have been met. In our modern applications, we should never include backdoors, Easter eggs, or logic bombs because they do go against our secure coding standards and best practices. So you want to make sure you're scanning your custom developed applications to ensure that none of these three things are included in them if you want to ensure that you have the most secure network for your organization.